Hello everyone, we are on week 7 of our CSA shares. We have some repeat items and a couple of new items this week. A few announcements before I go over storage and possible uses of what we got in our share this week. We're on week 7. If you are an half share and an A week, you pick up this week. Okay, three quick announcements. If you're going to pick up your share, make sure you bring a container to pick flowers. So we each get to pick a large bouquet of flowers, and you also need shears to cut them. So make sure you put those into your bags or whatever you bring for pickup this week. That will continue over the next few weeks, so make sure each time, like I used this today, I just rinsed it out. I'm gonna let it dry and then it'll go right back into the bags that I bring to the farm next week. If you have extra gallon containers like this, the farm is asking us to bring them. A lot of people have been taking the ones that they have cut into containers for use. This is just like such an easy, Trisha showed an example of how to make it. It's such an easy way to pick the flowers and then carry them home. But a lot of people are using the ones at the farm, which is fine. They just need to restock. So if anyone has these gallon containers and can bring them to the farm, that would be great. We just can bring them to the pickup location either on Tuesdays or Thursdays. So don't recycle them, bring them to the farm. The last quick announcement for any pick your own crops. So we had pick your own green beans, pick your own bouquet of flowers, and then pick your own herbs. For the flowers, they are marked with arrows. So both, there's kind of like two different fields, one really large field, and then the other one is a couple rows. They both had arrows on them. So follow the arrows and that guides us to where we need to go on the farm. So the flowers aren't really a big deal. Obviously, if they're in bloom, that's what we're picking. The green beans, and then in the future, cherry tomatoes. I think we're gonna have ground cherries soon. You have to go to the rows that are marked with arrows or with flags. Don't go to the other rows. So if there's other rows that are unmarked, please leave them. The farmers identify the rows that can be picked. So for instance, today, green beans. Green beans, I think there were either 2 or 3 rows, I can't remember, that were marked with arrows or with flags. And then there were a couple other rows further in that were unmarked. We're not supposed to pick from those unmarked rows, just from the ones that are marked. Same thing in the future for cherry tomatoes, we'll have pick, and for ground cherries, probably shishitos will be coming. So all of those things, just pay attention to the signage. The farm does a really good job of identifying where each row is and where they want us to pick from. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into this week's share. We have basil, so we've been getting tons of basil. I already took my basil out of the rubber band, so it was a big bunch. Take it out of the rubber band, put it into a cup of water, and this stays on the countertop. So we don't want to put this in the fridge. I actually still have quite a bit of basil from last week, so I'm probably going to do a pesto this week, and I know I'm going to do a caprese salad. I love putting basil in my vinaigrettes. I can't remember who posted, but it goes really well with fruit. So there was a post on peaches with a balsamic glaze and then chopped up basil. That looked really good. So just use your basil in all different ways. Oh, and cocktails. We're seeing lots of posts with cocktails. I can't even remember. I know we did like strawberry basil margarita. I think there was a lemon cocktail with basil. But all of those are on our Facebook group. So get creative. Since we're getting a lot of basil, get creative with it. Use it in different ways. Go to our blog. There's posts on there. Just type in the search engine basil and you'll get some posts that use basil. Okay, so that's in the fridge. I mean, not in the fridge, sorry. not in the fridge, that's on the counter. We also got a bunch of dill. Dill, remove the, I already did it, remove the rubber band and then throw it into a glass with water. And then this does go in the fridge. So dill likes to stay cold, so we wanna keep this in the fridge. Dill pairs really well with our potatoes. So we have new potatoes this week, goes really well with that. Also pairs really well with our cucumbers. So if you're pickling the cucumbers, you can use fresh basil. I mean fresh dill, gosh, I'm all distorted tonight. Fresh dill, you can do fresh dill with the potatoes, a potato salad, or even like a roasted potato. Dill is gonna be, some of the dill is gonna be used in this week's recipe, which will be posted on Thursday. Great to dehydrate. Dill dehydrates really well, and it also freezes really well. So I've shown you a couple different times how I freeze it. So it's really easy to freeze. So if you still have dill from last week, if you're a weekly CSA share, think about either using that first or freezing and dehydrating it to preserve it for later. Okay, so basil and dill. We have salad mix. So we've been getting our salad mix weekly. This we want to refrigerate in the plastic bag, unwashed. If you wash it, then put it in a plastic bag with paper towels so the paper towels absorb the moisture. This is probably the first thing you want to use this week. So this will not last typically a whole week long, but stored in the fridge. And great for salads, great for lunches, great for a side. Just dress it however you want. Okay, we got kale. So we have red kale. I take off the rubber band. Kale chips, kale salad. I know there's a Caesar salad with kale on the blog. That's really, really good. You can blanch it and freeze it to preserve it. You can throw it into smoothies. It's really good. I like kale raw, but you can also saute it, chop it up really small, so bite-sized pieces. This we want to store in the fridge. I take the band off and I throw it into a plastic bag. I've been using my green bags that work really well, my Debbie Meyer green bags. So that's what I'm going to throw this in. Okay, we received fresh onions, fresh sweet onions. These are uncured. So instead of storing them in cool, dry storage, we store them in the fridge. You can use the tops. So the tops are kind of like a scallion, a bigger scallion. If you're not going to use them, cut them off and throw them in your veggie scrap bag. They'll help flavor your veggie broth in that bag. Sweet onion, I did try that dressing, a version of it. I never typically follow a recipe 100%, but I did try a version of that and it was really good. I didn't blend it all the way at first and left it a little chunky, but it was a caramelized sweet onion dressing that I had posted, I think sometime last week. That was really good. These were also used in the post for the veggie packets, and they will be used for this week's recipe. So stay tuned for that. All right, we have cucumbers, a bunch of cucumbers. These can be pickled, they can be eaten raw. We tend to eat them raw in our house just because my kids love cucumbers, so I slice them up and just throw them on the table. You can serve them with like a dip, hummus. There's a dill dip recipe on the blog. I've been seeing a lot of people pickling them, so that looks really good. Cucumber salad. I know there's a cucumber salad recipe on the blog as well. These get stored in the fridge, so I just throw them, I rinsed them off, wiped them down, made sure there wasn't mud or anything on them, and then these go in the crisper. We also have more summer squash. So either zucchini or the yellow summer squash. These get stored in the crisper. These are phenomenal grilled. So just season with oil, salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic powder, and then just grill them. You can slice them into rounds and grill them. I like to slice them lengthwise, so long, and then lay them over the grill grates. They're always a great side. I do have a recipe eventually coming with these guys. I just don't have all the ingredients yet. I love turning these into noodles. So I use my spiralizer and turn them into a low carb noodle for either spaghetti or for pesto and things like that. They can be eaten raw also. So you can chop them up and put them on salads or just have them as a snack. They're a great side. We have eggplant. So I love eggplant parm. So this guy will be turning into, I'll be frying, or probably baking actually. Basting, peeling it, slicing it into rounds. So slicing it this direction so I have nice rounds. And then I'll put it in an egg wash and then bread it. I usually use some sort of gluten-free breadcrumb with some seasonings and stuff. And the great thing about that is for years I've been doing that, and if I'm not ready to use it and turn it right into chicken parm or eggplant parm, I freeze it. So I freeze each individual eggplant round between wax paper in the freezer, and then I pull it out when we're ready to have that as a meal and turn it into eggplant parm. It's also good just like that, so you don't need the sauce and the cheese. You can just have like a fried or a baked eggplant strip. This is also good grilled. The outside skin is a little bit tough, so I like to peel it. It's stored in the fridge. It does not like moisture, so wrapping it in a towel works really well, and then throw it in your crisper drawer to keep it cool, but then keep the moisture away from it so that it doesn't start to wilt. So that's eggplant. You can cook it whole. I like to slice it. So you can either slice it into the rounds or you can slice it this direction, and you can grill that just like you would a zucchini. Okay, we did pick your own green beans. So we got a quart of green beans. These are great steamed, they're great sauteed, or eaten raw. They often don't make it to the cooking point in my house. I'll clean them up and I'll put them in a bowl on the table, and the boys just kind of walk around and grab a few and eat them. These can also be cooked, blanched. They can do a quick blanch and freeze them. You can also cook them, refrigerate them, cool them down, and use them on salad. You can pickle them. So all different ideas there. Stored in the fridge in a plastic bag. And if you're gonna use them, like I usually prep the night before. If I know I'm gonna have them for a meal, I clean them all up and then put them in the plastic bag so they're just ready to use in whatever I'm using them in the next day. They do last. They can be washed and stored in the fridge. Okay, we also have potatoes. These are our, I think they're red gold new potatoes. So these are uncured. So they don't, the skins are edible, they're thin, they're paper-like, they can be eaten just like this. There's a great recipe on the blog that was a hit. I think I did it last year with potatoes and zucchini and squash. It looks really pretty when you make it too, so that's an option. Just Google new potatoes or potatoes and squash. I can't remember what I called it. These were in the recipe for the grill packets, so they're great to grill. They're great for hash browns in the morning. We want to store them in the fridge though because they're uncured. So store them in the fridge. They won't last as long as your cured potatoes. We also received fresh garlic. So this is always a nice treat. Fresh garlic, the entire thing is edible. So our stalk is kind of like a leek, so you can throw it into soup, you can throw it into a saute, a stir fry. I just kind of chop off the end so it's nice, and then chop that up. Inside is our bulbs, just like normal cured garlic. Those can be used just like you would a cured garlic. But the outside, paper-like membranes, I guess you would call them, when you peel those off, don't throw them out. They are absolutely edible. I'm gonna use them. Trisha posted a link for a fresh, I think it was called a fresh garlic spread. I'm gonna use them for that, but you can use them in all different things. You can, and if you're not gonna use them, don't throw them out, throw them in your veggie scrap bag. This gets stored in the fridge. If you do use the membranes and do use the stalk and don't get a chance to use all the bulbs, store the bulbs in a glass jar or a plastic bag in the fridge. So because it's on anything that's fresh, so if the fresh onions, the fresh garlic, the new potatoes, things that haven't been cured, we want to store in the fridge. So we're not used to storing that stuff in the fridge because we're used to having cured versions. This will be used in this week's recipe too. So far, the onions, the garlic, and some potatoes from our, and dill. So all of those so far. And then the last star of my recipe for this week will be our celery. So this is farm fresh celery. Looks a little bit different. It's not as big and thick as what we buy in the grocery store. All of it is edible. So we don't want to throw out the leaves. We don't want to chop off and just use the stalks like we typically do. The entire thing is edible. You can juice this, you can make celery juice, you can chop it up and use it in salad. It would go really well in a potato salad, egg salad. This is gonna be used in, the whole stalk is gonna be used in this week's recipe. So if you wanna save it, hold on to it until Thursday, and then Thursday night you can plan on using this, or Friday, in that recipe. This gets stored whole if possible. It's gonna last the longest if we leave it whole. I probably would still take that rubber band off, free it up a little bit, throw it in a plastic bag and store it in the fridge. You can wrap it in a towel. You can also wrap it in foil to keep the moisture trapped in. I really don't do that. I just tend to put it in the plastic bag and it lasts. I do like to use this within a week. It's best, it's freshest, it's nice and green, and doesn't wilt. If you end up cutting this or using some of it, chopping it up for a salad and don't end up using it all, if it's washed and chopped up, you wanna store it in a container in water, and that will help prevent the dehydration of the celery. Okay, I think that's it. So stay tuned for the recipe for this week. Pick your own herbs. If you picked any of those, I walked through, I didn't need any this week, but I know there was tarragon, there was lots of mint, there were edible flowers, there was lavender. Those typically get stored in the fridge, or I like to have an idea of what I'm gonna use them for before I pick them. Because if I'm not going to use them, I don't want to waste them. If you pick them, have an idea. I think we get to have 6 or 8 sprigs of herbs. Have an idea of what you're going to use them for. If you're going to dehydrate them, put them in your dehydrator right away. They will store in your fridge for a little while, but they won't last super long. But those are all marked on the farm. Those are all marked with our pink flags. So if an herb box or an area of herbs doesn't have that pink flag, please do not pick from it. Again, the farmers do a really good job of identifying where we can pick from and where we can't. So if it has a flag and has a sign, then we're good. Okay, so if you have any ideas for what you're using, if you make some really awesome meals or even just wing it and throw something together, please continue to share on the Facebook page. It's been fun to see everyone's meals. what they're doing with the produce. Another thing I want to remind people, because we are in the heat of the summer, a lot of people are going on vacation. If you're going on vacation and can't use your whole share, hand it out to family and friends. We did that. We went away and I just couldn't use all of the produce I had in my fridge, and we were going to be gone a week, so it wasn't going to last until we got back. And we divided it up, I think, into there were 4 different people that received portions of our shares. And throughout vacation, it was fun because they were sending me pictures and telling me how yummy it was and that they were happy we were willing to share with them. So please think about doing that. Or if you don't have anyone to share with, Trisha and Tom can always donate your share. So if you know you're not gonna be able to pick up and can't have someone use the produce that you're supposed to get, then have them donate. All right. I look forward to seeing everyone's recipes and meals and snacks for the week, and I will see you again next Tuesday night for week 8.